Hello, this is Marion, your English teacher, back for another lesson on English grammar. Today we'll be starting our journey into the perfect tenses with a lesson on the present perfect. So let's jump right in. There are different uses for the present perfect. We use it to indicate something that started in the past and is still happening or true in the present. For example, I have been married for 15 years. This sentence means that I got married 15 years ago and I am still married now. Compare the sentence to the following. I was married 15 years ago. The second example is in the past simple tense and indicates that I was married in the past, but I am not married anymore. We also use the present perfect to talk about an experience that happened at a non-specific time in the past, or an experience that is still valid today. For example, I've heard that song before. You can never unhear a song, therefore your experience of knowing this song is still valid now. Equally, it isn't specified when I heard the song. It's sometime in the non-specific past. Great. Now that we know the functions of the present perfect, let's learn more about its form. To use the present perfect, we must use the present participle. In our lesson on the past simple, we learned that to form the past simple tense of regular verbs, we add ed to the end of the infinitive form. This is also true to form the past participle. We simply add ed. I talked, past simple. I talked, past participle. You may notice the form remains the same for all pronouns. Here is another regular verb, to want. I wanted, I wanted. You wanted, you wanted, etc. For example, I have wanted a doll since I was a child. I have never liked tomatoes. Want and like are both regular verbs. Therefore, we add ed to form the past participle. We also learned in our lesson on the past simple that there is a very long list of irregular verbs that form differently in the past simple tense. This is also the case when forming the past participle. Look at this example, the verb to eat, which is irregular. I eat, present simple. You ate, past simple. You eat, you ate. He eats, he ate. She eats, she ate, etc. All verbs that are irregular in the past simple are also irregular in the past participle. I eat, present simple. I ate, past simple. I have eaten, past participle. Notice how the past participle form of a verb remains the same for all pronouns, just like the past simple. For example, I eat vegetables every day. Eat is in the present simple tense. I ate vegetables yesterday. Ate is in the past simple tense. I've eaten vegetables my whole life. Great work! Let's look at some examples of irregular verbs. Some verbs keep their infinitive form in the present, past, simple, and past participle. Cut, cut, cut. Hurt, hurt, hurt. Hit, hit, hit. Put, put, put. Set, set, set. Read, read, read. Notice how many verbs ending in a vowel and the consonant T remain the same for all tenses. Also pay attention to the pronunciation of the verb read. Although it is spelt the same in all three conjugations, the pronunciation is different. Read, present simple. Read, past simple. Read, past participle. For example, I cut my finger while chopping onions. This is the past simple. I have cut my finger twice this morning. I read that book last summer. She has read that book so many times. Now, some verbs have the same past simple and past participle. Bring, brought, brought. Have, had, had. Make, made, made. Tell, told, told. Hear, heard, heard. Catch, caught, caught. For example, I brought wine for dinner. They have brought too many snacks for tonight. Notice the difference in meanings in these two sentences. In the first sentence, which is in the past simple tense, this is a punctual action in the past. It happened once at a specific time. The second sentence in the present perfect has an impact on the present. It is an action in the past that will affect the present or future. Finally, we have many irregular verbs that are different in all three conjugations of the present simple, past simple, and past participle. Be, was, been. Do, did, done. Drink, drank, drunk. Know, knew, known. See, saw, seen. Write, wrote, written. For example, I saw the new Spider-Man movie at the cinema yesterday. This is a specific, one-time action at a specific point in the past. Therefore, we use the past simple. I have seen the new Spider-Man movie. This action happens at an unspecified time in the past. Therefore, we use the present perfect. I was happy yesterday. I've been so happy today. The first sentence in the past simple indicates that the speaker was happy at a specific point in the past. It does not indicate whether the speaker is still happy now. Whereas the second example in the present perfect indicates that the speaker has been happy in the past up to now and is probably still happy. Now, it's interesting to note an American versus British difference in an irregular verb. The verb get can be used as the past participle as got or gotten. Gotten is more used in the USA, in American English, whereas got as a past participle is more common in England and maybe some other English-speaking countries. For example, I've got 3 new books this year. I've gotten 3 new books this year. Both sentences are grammatically correct and are acceptably used in formal and informal language. Now, let's practice some irregular verbs. Can you match the past participle to its present simple form? Win, won. Speak, spoken. Sleep, slept. Spend, spent. Throw, thrown. Think, thought. Swim, swum. Great work. Let's do one more. Catch, caught. Draw, drawn. Break, broken. Sing, sung. Wear, worn. Go, gone. Give, given. Great work! Now, how do we form the present perfect? Well, we follow the sentence construction subject plus have or has plus the past participle. For example, I've heard that song before. The auxiliary have conjugates as follows. I have, you have, he, she, it has. We have, you have, they have. Remember to use the correct auxiliary verb when speaking in the present perfect tense. For example, they have been excited for the concert all week. She has been waiting for this moment her entire life. As always, it is common to use contractions with the subject and present tense of have. We use contractions in the following ways. I have, I've. You have, you've. He has, he's. She has, she's. It has, its. We have, we've. You have, you've. They have, they've. For example, you've been sad all morning. What's wrong? They've been driving for hours. Be careful. There are different contractions that can come from different auxiliaries or verbs. For example, she's happy is the contraction of she is happy. She's been happy all day is the contraction of she has been happy all day. You can tell the difference between the present simple and present perfect because the present perfect uses the past participle after the auxiliary. She's happy does not have a past participle, therefore it's the present simple. All right, it's time for practice. Can you fill in the gaps? Julia and I have known each other for 10 years. I have played football since I was a child. Or, in the contracted form, I've played football since I was a child. My brother has been in the hospital twice already this year. I have wanted to be a singer my whole life. I've wanted to be a singer my whole life. Since starting his gap year, he has traveled to over 10 different countries. Since starting his gap year, he's traveled to over 10 different countries. You have had that dress for like 10 years. It's time to get a new one. You've had that dress for like 10 years. It's time to get a new one. We have eaten too many cookies today. I feel sick. We've eaten too many cookies today. I feel sick. Fantastic work, everyone. Now, to form negative sentences in the present perfect, we follow the structure subject plus have or has plus not plus the past participle. For example, I have not seen him today, or my cat has not gone outside to play. We can also contract have not and has not to form haven't and hasn't. I haven't seen him today. My cat hasn't gone outside to play. To ask questions in the present perfect, we follow the structure have or has plus subject plus past participle. Because remember, when asking questions in the present perfect, we place the auxiliary verb before the subject. For example, have you eaten today? Has she been to Italy before? We can also ask questions with question words. Therefore, we keep the same structure and add the question word at the beginning. Where have you been today? How has she got this money? Now, to ask negative questions, we can use the structure have or has plus subject plus not plus past participle. Have you not eaten today? Has she not been to Italy before? Generally, when a question is asked in the negative like that, It implies that the speaker, who is asking the question, already knows the answer. They are just confirming what they already know. Similar structures can be applied to all tenses. Wonderful. Practice time. Can you fill in the gaps? She hasn't started her project yet. Has she played golf before? I haven't read that book. Have you been to Prague? They haven't called. Have they bought the tickets? Great work! All right, now let's look at using adverbs with the present perfect. There are certain adverbs that are commonly used with this tense. We generally place the adverb between the auxiliary verb and the past participle, or at the end of the sentence or question. For example, with the structure subject plus have or has plus adverb plus past participle. You've never eaten cookies this good before. Or with the structure subject plus have or has plus past participle plus an adverb at the end of the sentence. She's been reading that book so quickly. Now let's look at some examples of adverbs commonly used with the present perfect. I want to be clear that these are not the only adverbs that can be used. They're just the most commonly used. And therefore, it's interesting to mention them. Ever. We often use ever to talk or ask about an experience up to the present. That was the best cake I've ever eaten. This sentence means that the cake was the best they've had in the past and is still the best the speaker has tasted up to today. Have you ever been to Belgium? Never. We use never instead of not in negative forms for emphasis. I've eaten snails, but I've never tried frog legs. I've eaten snails, but I haven't tried frog legs. Both sentences mean the same thing. They're just expressed differently. Make sure not to use never with the negative auxiliary have not, because then that would change the meaning of the sentence. Certain adverbs of time are also commonly used to indicate an action begun in the recent past, therefore not very long ago. Recently, just, yet, lately, today. Have you tried the local specialty yet? Note that we only use yet in questions and negative sentences, never affirmative sentences. Another example, I've recently started learning French. Let's practice using adverbs with the present perfect. Can you fill in the gaps? What's the craziest city you've ever visited? Have you seen Kate? Yes, she's just arrived to the party. I sent out many job applications, but I haven't received any replies yet. I haven't started this book yet. Have you ever flown in a helicopter? She hasn't drunk enough water today. Good job. Finally, it is important to remember that you cannot use the present perfect for an action that happened at a specific point in the past. We use the past simple in that case. So for example, we do not say, I've spoken to her at 10 a.m. because this is a specific action at a specific time. Instead, we must say, I spoke to her at 10 a.m. So let's go on and practice the difference between the present perfect and past simple. Choose the grammatically correct sentence. Paul has broken his phone yesterday. Paul broke his phone yesterday. The second sentence is correct. We use the past simple for an action that happened once at a time in the past. We have been to India twice in our lives. We went to India twice in our lives. The first sentence is correct. We are talking about multiple actions in the past at non-specific times. Therefore, we use the present perfect. You make me so happy. I have always loved you. You make me so happy. I always loved you. The first sentence is correct. This is an action that started in the past and is still true now in the present. Therefore, we use the present perfect. Shakespeare has written the classic love story, Romeo and Juliet. Shakespeare wrote the classic love story, Romeo and Juliet. The second sentence is correct. We must use the past simple for an action that happened once at a specific point in the past. What have you done last weekend? What did you do last weekend? The second question is correct. Did you ever eat snails? Have you ever eaten snails? The second question is correct. We are asking if a person has experienced something in the past and now in the present. Therefore, we use the present perfect. My grandparents have moved to Europe in 1989. My grandparents moved to Europe in 1989. The second sentence is correct. My mom has lived in France since 2010. My mom lived in France since 2010. The first sentence is correct. Great work! Now we can move on to our last practice of the day, our task-based activity. Today, we have an extract from the famous novel Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert. It's a story which is biographical of the author as she travels throughout Italy, India, and Indonesia to find food, balance, and spirituality. We will read the text together. Then you will have 3 minutes to find all instances of the present perfect. So, let's begin. I sat there for 2 hours. A bird might very well have landed on my head. I wouldn't have noticed. Let me be clear about one thing. I recognize that this experiment wasn't the most stoic act of fortitude in the history of mankind, and I'm not asking for a Congressional Medal of Honor here. But there was something mildly thrilling for me about realizing that in my 34 years on Earth, I have never not slapped at a mosquito when it was biting me. I've been a puppet to this and to millions of other small and large signals of pain or pleasure throughout my life. Whenever something happens, I always react. But here I was, disregarding the reflex. When it was all over, I stood up, walked to my room, and assessed the damage. I counted 20 mosquito bites, but within half an hour, all the bites had diminished. All right, 3 minutes to find all uses of the present perfect. Let's go. Were you able to find all the uses of the present perfect in this text? There were 4 in total. Have landed, have noticed, have never not slapped, which includes an adverb and a negation, and I've been. Well done on all your efforts. We can move on and conclude this lesson with a review. We use the present perfect to indicate that an action started in the past and is still happening in the present. They've been on the road since yesterday. This sentence means that they are still on the road now. We also use the present perfect to talk about an experience that happened at a non-specific time in the past and may still have an influence on today. I've loved him since I was 10 years old. This sentence indicates that the speaker still loves him. To form the present perfect, we use the construction subject plus have or has plus the past participle. I have lost my keys, or in its contracted form, I've lost my keys. To form negative sentences in the present perfect, we follow the structure subject plus have or has plus not plus past participle. We can also contract the auxiliary with the adverb not, therefore creating haven't and hasn't. I have not gone shopping yet. I haven't gone shopping yet. Finally, to ask questions in the present perfect, we follow the structure have or has plus subject plus past participle. Have they found the missing puzzle piece? There are certain adverbs that are commonly used with the present perfect. We generally place these adverbs between the auxiliary verb have or has and the past participle, or at the end of a sentence or question. I've always wanted to go skiing in France. I haven't been to France yet. Great work, everybody! This concludes our lesson on the present perfect tense. Next up, the past perfect.